Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We are here for the 1v1 prior to the best of 3 series between Vici Gaming and RNG. It is MLP Dota and johnxfire. John, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. This is going to be interesting. I mean, you've had this for the past 2 days. It's going to be there in the entire league. It's the 1v1 mid to determine coin flip. The concept of it's just always going to make me laugh. I'm just going to say that straight up. I mean, you've got Spirit Breaker up against Rubik mid. You're never going to see that in an actual game or even in a serious 1v1. So it's always a treat to see these kind of little events fold out in these tournaments.
They haven't been very balanced in these 1v1 matchups. Like, the heroes are always completely unbalanced, and the players, of course, seem to be very unbalanced. John Eurus, the position 1 of Vici, going to be versing the position 3 SRF. And I was asking Danog a lot yesterday, and I'll offer you the same, sir. Who do you think has the better hero in this 1v1 matchup?
Rubik's just naturally a mid laner anyway, right? Like, you see this hero run in mid a lot of times. Spirit Breaker is a much tankier hero. That's going to be a hard hero to really burn down. But I don't think it will really kick in. Rubik has a lot of ways to play around that kit. You've also got a range advantage on top of that. The Spirit Breaker, if you're going to go down to last hits, does have a pretty atrocious animation. I think that's the one thing with Spirit Breaker. Like, it's not going to be an easy time to get the cancellations smoothly, although it's something you can play around. I think it's just going to be easier for Eurus to bully out with a Fade Ball.
Oh, SRF, how dare you? Oh, and Eurus is not happy. SRF here to win. Eurus not even hitting SRF, and well, unprovoked, SRF will go towards Eurus. Now, won't even look at him. Look what you did, SRF. Oh, he does it again. How dare he? And he bashes as well.
That's exactly what you want when you're playing Spirit Breaker. Just getting that bash off, it does rattle the enemy hero, and Eurus is really not going to be too happy, as you mentioned. Going back to block, should be able to get a decent block. Not so well with SRF, so it's going to favor Eurus just a touch here in the first wave.
I'm sure Eurus will be perfectly fine. Like, SRF knows he's not at an advantage in this matchup right now. Fade Bolt's a thing, of course. Fade Bolt's not going to be very fun. SRF, we'll see how lucky he can get with these bashes. There's one. Not going to do too much damage yet, of course, but maybe as the levels go up. But man, how do you win this matchup as SRF? Like, there's just no way to harass Eurus back. You're just going to be burning through regen.
Probably wait for level 2. That's when you can maybe play around, although you run the risk of having lift, and your charge is going to be cancelled that way. Although no, Eurus actually goes for the Arcane Supremacy, so he just wants to out-damage SRF in the trades. Once you hit level 2, I suppose you could try playing with the Charge of Darkness and hoping for some lucky bashes. SRF has been having a decent time with bashes. There you go.
Eurus is getting low. Bash? Nope.
No.
17%, John. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. This time it doesn't for SRF. Had he connected 1 or 2 bashes, that probably would have been death for Eurus, but it's not the case. SRF, he's going to be forced to bring out another salve for himself and goes for another charge. Fade Bolt going to be really hard to fight into for SRF. He's just going to be forced to back off a little bit. SRF, poor guy, has to salve up.
I mean, all this time that he's having to stand back and give free last hits to Eurus, he's really trailing behind in terms of last hits. He's at 7-1 compared to Rubik. Even all these charges really just not stopping Eurus too much. So his resources are going to be limited as well, which is going to make it difficult to maintain that regen game he's playing right now.
I wonder if there's even a point in getting an item like an Orb of Venom this game, because he's got one queued up. He hasn't picked it up yet, and it's just like, the argument is you're probably not going to buy boots on either of these heroes because it's a 1v1, right? You've got nowhere to go but against each other. SRF, what's he brought out? He's got another salve and the full bracer up, and he'll go for another charge onto Eurus. No lucky bashes for SRF, and he cops a tower strike as well. Surprisingly enough, though, I've got to add, he is pretty close in terms of last hits, John. Only 2 behind.
Yeah, there's a massive amount of denies on Eurus though. This is going to give him a bit of an edge in terms of EXP. Not as much as would before pre-patch, but still a good number to have yourself ahead of.
Can he get a bash? If
No.
this was a pump game, he would bash 5 times in a row. But in this 1v1, just nothing. And now Eurus again punishing him. SRF, do you want to try? You've got no mana for the charge, sir. He's going to wait for it. He just can't. Like, you've got no health. How do you get in there?
Every single time he tries to go in for a last hits, he's just going to be really punched hard by Eurus. He's always playing the regen game. His courier's constantly flying back with additional regen. He's got a salve, tango, and a mango coming in now just to help him sustain here, give him a little bit more to play with. He has to hit those bashes, and unfortunately, you know, it's not down to his skill. It's just he can't even prime it on that creep wave because he just can't access that creep wave.
I suppose we should note as well, John, like with that new patch, you do have a bit more efficiency with salves now. Lasts 2 more seconds, so more healing.
It's the same amount healed.
Oh, is it really? So it's more inefficient.
It's just
then.
longer.
Okay.
Yeah, just a bit.
Eurus. Fade bolting SRF to the face.
It's just nothing he can do.
Yeah, he's now 10 losses behind.
Yeah, he charges in, he gets fade bolted in. He's actually TPing home. He's going to charge back in. That's something you could do with the Spirit Breaker, I suppose.
I respect the fact that SRF hasn't at least called GG, because a lot of the times, a lot of the 1v1s we have seen, they tend to call GG pretty early on if they're falling behind like this.
It's charging in.
I love it.
It's a long way.
Uh-oh. I imagine that means charge or something like that. Charge in. Eurus going to go to his tier 1. SRF says, no, that's enough. This is good. You know, both players are having fun. I really got to say, the other 1v1s, they were not very, like, they weren't having fun at all by the looks of it. They just wanted to get out of there. These two, however, using all the time they can get to really prove who is the better 1v1 in the mid lane. Not that it's, again, it's not very balanced, but, you know.
It's fine.
Ooh.
Level 6 is on Eurus, so there you go, charge.
SRF charges first, but Eurus could always charge back now. He will not. He'll hold on to that charge. He can't exactly steal anything else. There's nothing else to steal for Eurus, so he's got a 100% chance of taking charge. Charge again. Oh. SRF. Fade bolts there. He hits nothing. Like, he does no damage once Fade bolt hits him. Yeah, Eurus just gonna just keep playing the farm game. SRF, how are you... What are you gonna do? Nice bash.
Oh, there it is.
He's tanking the creep wave. Charge from Eurus now. Charge back.
Oh, man.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
Dangerous times, but there's no... Well, the charge was on cooldown even if you wanted to use it. SRF though, no regen left. Oh, Eurus doesn't mind dropping all those null talismans to get that maximum efficiency, and now goes for the charge, has the max fade bolt. This should be a kill, and it will be Eurus. He finds it. It's not GG yet, but now it is. He does call it. And there you have it. Apparently, in a 1v1, Rubik beats Spirit Breaker.
Poor SRF. Yeah, I mean, Rubik is just a traditional mid. Spirit Breaker's not a hero right now, for the most part. Unfortunately, SRF tries to make it work, and that was pretty... Well, it was funny to watch. I'm sure it wasn't exactly fun to play, but it's a good effort.
I think they had fun. Still, we do go into the first game of the best of 3 now. Should be about 5 minutes or so before we do start the first draft. It is MLP Dota and johnxfire. We'll be back with you as soon as that draft is available.
Tends to be the Ember, but they've kind of locked themselves in with Void Spirit. They do go for the Alchemist, so they're trying to find a way to come online even faster than that Phantom Lancer. We have seen the Alchemist pop out a lot. I think in this case, with the Chen, it should be pretty hard to deal with. You're going to have to look for a fast Earner Spirit Vessel to really shut that hero down by the time he hits 6. But with Vici picking up the Dazzle, I think that's very likely. It's one of the items you build up to for the Dazzle if you're looking to be a bit more active in that core hero. So that option is still there on the table for VG. CDEC have to ensure their Alchemist gets a good laning start. We have seen games where the team with the Alchemist only maintains, what, a 1k lead, and that's really not where you want to be with a hero like that.
Certainly not. I would like to ask you, I actually had this thought last night when I was reading the patch notes. Is Alchemist now back in meta, even after those nerfs? Because they buffed jungle creeps. Deniers, like you mentioned, aren't as important anymore, which also kind of suits his playstyle. It kind of feels like in some weird way, Alchemist got buffed. Just not targeted, of course. It was kind of just a buff in general, globally, to this Alchemist.
I think he was in a pretty decent spot overall. Like, you did see a couple of teams going into that Alchemist. I think it had a pretty smooth power spike. The conditions for Alchemist to fail are still there, though. Like, very clear conditions of item pickups are there. Spirit Vessel is still pretty darn strong. And with what CDEC has, one of these heroes will pick it up, right? You have the Chen, you have a mech coming out in that Chen more than likely. You have the Phoenix heal, you have the Alchemist heal. There's a lot of value in picking up that Spirit Vessel to slow down their regen. I think that's still going to cause issues for the Alchemist. At the very least, you have the Legion Commander to maybe mitigate that, give you a little bit more control as well. The Purge is nice. Solid laner. That's one way to kind of deal with the Phantom Lancer illusions. At the very least, you will be able to figure out which one the real one is with the damage you get from overwhelming odds. So it's a pretty solid response from CDEC. You have to worry about your dual targets, though. There's a Dazzle, there's a Tusk. There are ways for VG to just take that duel out of the equation every single fight.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It does seem like they did go for it for the sake of having that press the attack and overwhelming odds. I do ask the question, in terms of that Spirit Vessel carrier that VG Gaming needs, in fact, there's my answer. It's probably going to be the Kunkka. It didn't seem like they had the greatest vessel carrier on the side of VG Gaming, like maybe the best was the Tusk. But with Ori on the Kunkka, you wouldn't really blame him for just rushing a Spirit Vessel now. Almost like a mid-Ember does these days, and that could just be the answer here against the Arc. But still, you do have the LC. That's still going to be problematic.
Yeah, you've got to worry about that Legion, but I think this Kunkka pickup by VG really ties their draft quite nicely together. They want to have a lot of innate tankiness. The Kunkka is going to amplify that. They kind of want to keep running at you. This Dazzle pickup does tell us that they want to maybe play by the mid game once the Dazzle has a couple of items under his belt. So you're going to be looking for that timing here from VG. It's pretty solid. I think CDEC does have slightly stronger team fight, mainly down to the Phoenix, although there's really no good setup here. There's no good AoE control coming out from CDEC to ensure their Phoenix is not going to be bothered by being targeted down. You don't really have anyone else to keep multiple heroes in place. Maybe if the Chen picks up a lot of Centaurs, that's one way to take control in this fight, but beyond that, the control is all on the side of VG, and that could cause issues for the execution of CDEC.
Do you need that control though in this game? Because it feels like there's so many targets on the side of CDEC you need to aim for anyway, right? Like if the LC gets a jewel off, do you focus on that jewel? Do you focus on the Alchemist? Do you focus on the Void Spirit who's going to jump in and cause all kinds of havoc? Like, I don't know if they necessarily need the control anymore with these kind of heroes because there's just too many targets you need to aim for.
I think it would still be good for CDEC. I mean, if the egg goes off, that's going to be top priority every single time. So
Right.
for James, he's just not going to have a free egg in these team fights unless his positioning is really perfect. But he's relying entirely on himself. You know, you're not relying on an arena to keep them out. You're not relying on Clockwork to have them cogged up. You don't have any Black Hole to lock them in place or a Tidehunter with Ravage or anything like that. It's all down to the Phoenix positioning. That's a lot of pressure to put onto one hero in these team fights. I do like your point, though. Like, there are a lot of targets for VG to focus on. I don't think it's going to be a massive problem for VG to really lock it down. Like, you have to... You're going to commit to one hero, and even if everyone else is fine to do what they want, you take one hero out, the equation for CDEC does kind of fall apart. So they're going to have to be careful with who they expose. I think the target, at the very least, the target they don't want exposed the most is XM. He's going to be very vulnerable to that Kunkka pick that VG did bring out.
Yeah, absolutely. We actually, we did see a matchup 1v1 between XM, or not XM particularly, but a Void Spirit versus a Kunkka, and I've got to tell you, it is not a fun matchup for the Void Spirit. That Tidebringer, it just seems to delete most of the shield that you tend to get with that Resonant Pulse. it makes it very, very hard to actually contest this Conqueror's bot lane. We may see a bit of action early on. Eurus does secure the banner and now James, do you have... Oh, he doesn't have Icarus Dive. He went for the Fire Spirits, and that means he's going to be giving away first blood, though Eurus now going to try and run away, but no. They'll go on to Victoria, and Victoria's going to fall low, but they do get Eurus in time. Still, it could be a secondary kill coming out for Vici Gaming. And CDEC, that is not the start you would want.
They at least get the kill on the Phantom Lancer. That kind of offsets that early loss with the first blood. Eurus is still going to be very happy with getting that kill for himself, of course. Doesn't set him back too much. Just TP's back in lane. Creep wave is right where he'd want it because there's no real opportunity for CDEC to block it out. And it should be a smooth start for Phantom Lancer.
Because we'll have a quick gander into that mid lane where XM is going to be up against Ori. Do you think Ori can outplay this, excuse me, do you think XM can outplay the Conqueror in this lane matchup?
There are ways to dance around the Kunkka. I don't think it's very easy. I think it's really just favoring Ori, as you mentioned, for all the reasons. Tidebringer just burning through that shield. X, once it's up, really setting up and counteracting what you'd want to do for dodging as the Void Spirit. It's just a much easier time for Ori. Even if you don't find those kills, it should be easier for Ori to just find those last hits and maintain harassment with his Tidebringer.
Yeah. For anyone that is confused about which one is Arme, which one is Victoria, by the way, because I think I saw some in chat, Arme is the Alchemist, Victoria is the Chen. Just FYI. I can't read Chinese either. I do check Liquipedia to make sure, though.
And this top lane for Ame is not going to be an easy time. It's a Dazzle Tusk. So you've got a constant way to keep that tag team going with the DOT. And that just means it's a lot harder for the Alchemist to stand there and just last hit. You do have the Chen, which is nice, but even then he's actually getting bullied out hard.
Yeah, the tag team is just too much damage. Though Yang will end up going down. They will trade. But you've lost a core Dazzle for the sake of a core Chen. And that kill did go to Arme on the Alchemist.
Yeah, it's a nice little pickup for CDEC. I like the bravery from VG to try to get that done. They commit a bit too hard for those kills. They do lose out on a couple of kills down bot, though. You do trade the... Yeah, just you lose the LC with a Phantom Lancer.
Yeah, DY goes down to the Lich as well, but you won't mind that if you're VG Gaming. You're more than happy, as long as the LC does die. And you talked about the PL having a decent time down at this bot lane. He certainly is so far. He's sitting at 7-3, out-farming SRF by quite a bit. Only problem is now SRF does essentially have a double creep wave coming towards his own tier 1 tower. And it's almost impossible to contest a hero next to these tier 1s now as well, because they get bonus armor as well as +1 regen. So that's always nice.
Just kind of discouraging people from diving in too deep. You do see James applying a good amount of damage, but now that Eurus has level 3, 1 level in Doppelganger, it's actually going to be hard to sustain that damage. You have to wait for that Doppelganger to be expended first, land your spirits. Otherwise, it's just going to be purged off, and the PL is just going to be happy to stand there and last hit.
XM on the Void Spirit, surprisingly enough, ahead in last hits. 22-7 in comparison to the 16-4, and I'm going to say I am very surprised about that. He is starting to pile on the harassment now with the Tidebringer as he goes up in levels. In fact, never mind, top lane. Arme does go down, and Yang, can they at least find the trade here on the Dazzle? Not quite. The healing wave will be enough to keep him alive, and they'll even find the Chen creep. A really nice pickup from Vici Gaming. And, well, bot lane. James getting very low here up against DY, but he has Fire Spirits, he has Icarus Dive, he's going to go for the dive onto DY, and DY just cannot sustain the damage coming out from those level 2 Fire Spirits.
Yeah, he managed to find that kill 1v1 and deny the rune from Ori in that sense as well. So a lot of control going the way of CDC. It does pay off. And it does help XM really maintain that advantage he has down mid.
certainly does. And again, I go back to my point, John. XM's winning this lane. They've rotated DY in now, so they're going to try and go for a kill, but you can always dissimulate like that. He's going to be perfectly fine. This shouldn't be happening. XM should be the one behind, but Ori just hasn't been able to really outplay or even just, I guess, equally play up against XM's Void Spirit.
Yeah, he's doing quite well for himself. He is slightly ahead in terms of last hits. It's not like a full wave so far, although with a creep wave coming in, that should give him at least 3 more creeps. But it's not the biggest disadvantage for Kunkka. You would expect a bit more, not quite there.
Oh, poor DY. Trying to run away from the Phoenix, and he did commit a salve. It looked like he was going to be safe, but SRF had the overwhelming odds and does take him out from a distance. Still a very even game, less than 1k net worth advantage and a 5-5 in terms of kill score. Though mid, there is going to be a rotation here as Aether Remnant did connect from XM. You've got Victoria on the Chen, and now you've got James as well. That should be enough damage onto Ori, and I don't believe he's actually level 6 yet, so he couldn't even throw the boat out.
Yeah, it's a lot of commitment to kill off that mid, but it does buy some space. It gives XM a nice kill, and he does just get recalled back in. So he's free to get it back done, fully regen up, full bottle up. And they are actually shaping up to apply some pressure to this mid-tier 1, which will give them some access if they do lose out early. So VG's got to protect this one.
Oh, he found an Arcane Rune as well, XM. He could really go for the Kunkka right now. Ori, he's not level 6 yet. XM, Astral Step, Aether Remnant, all going to be there, though he has help this time, XM. How do you get out of this one? He didn't save any Astral Steps for himself. He will dissimulate, but the X was timed very well by Ori. And now, Aether Remnant thrown out. James is going to be there to try and help him out as XM is surviving, but now you've got a Snowball coming in, a boat to fly out as well. The Snowball, it will not be enough. They may even turn onto PYW as he still does have that Arcane Rune active. PYW falling low and does go down to the Resonant Pulse. And so it eventually does pay off for CDEC, but they don't really find the target they wanted it anyway in the Kunkka.
You're not going to be too upset if you're VG. You had a lot of heroes commit down mid to find a support kill from CDEC. That does buy space for your side lane. So if you see Yang up top actually bullying out Ame for the most part and just completely taking over that lane, forcing the Alch to go into that jungle, which is not too bad for the Alchemist. He can still find farm this way, but it's not the best of starts for an Alch we've seen so far.
It's funny as well, because they're not really protecting the Alch at all. Like, they've kind of just left Ame alone to just suffer on that Alchemist, and they're really trying to pressure the PO into not farming at all. Whether that's the right play or not, I don't know if I can see it, because you know, the Alchemist is meant to really snowball and just set a pace to the game that you can't keep up with. But they're really focusing on shutting down the opposing carry. Now PYW, he's going to run straight into Ame.
Oh boy.
It's going to be another kill on the Alchemist, and I just don't think this is the right play from CDEC. Like, they've got no wards out to really keep an eye out on these rotations either from Vici Gaming.
I mean, all this commitment down bot, and Eurus isn't even slow down in farm. He's number 4 in last hits, which sounds pretty bad, but you take a look at the last hits on all the heroes from VG's side, it's fairly even. The distribution is fairly good from all the heroes. They're still finding what they want in every single lane, at least in terms of last hits. You can't quite say the same thing as CDEC. Ame, again, dipping into that jungle, is still at 27 last hits. That's not where you want to be, ACL. And I think at some point you're going to have to give some resources there.
Oh no, they jeweled the illusion! Oh, SRF, he needed to wait a second. XM was chasing the right one. Miscommunication from CDEC cost them a kill. And that was a guaranteed kill, mind you. There was no way he was getting out of that. Oh yeah, boy.
With a hero like Legion Commander, you really need those early duel wins. We talk about that timing a lot. And if you don't manage to net those early duel wins, I'd say maybe 2 at the very least by 15 is a good way to start off. At least better than a lot of Legion Commander games we see. That's really what you want to aim for minimally. They don't manage to get it. Really good side steps coming out from Eurus. And he did have a TP coming in from DY. So that could have gotten a bit dicier than you'd expect. They do manage to still take that tier 1 though.
I mean, it was a level 4 Lich. What was he going to do? Very upsetting here for CDEC. Now the pings are coming out. SRF sticks around. Ori does start making the rotation, but XM is going to be there, cutting that rotation off and wants to make a bit of a chase. But Ori will be perfectly fine as XM just doesn't really have the burst by himself to go through all the HP of the Kunkka. Still keeps eyes on Ori, but he's sitting there with almost 1.4k HP at almost 10 minutes into the game. Like, he's not dying solo to a Void Spirit.
No, it's going to take a lot more help to really keep Ori down. You do see Ame rotate down mid. Out of that jungle, he is still trying to play catch-up. It's not
Battle Fury.
too shabby. Oh.
Battle
Yeah.
Fury?
No.
That's
Yeah,
the item?
he's trying to play catch-up. The build-up is a lot easier than Radiance. And the item cost is roundabout in the same ballpark, but it's a much easier time to save up for those parts still. Yang getting jumped.
Certainly is. XM going to be there and will slice Yang down. X thrown out by Ori, but that's not really going to matter. He's going to back off. Do you think Ame's maybe going for the Battle Fury not only because he's up against the PL, but you know, with those reliable gold changes, perhaps he can't afford to hold on to that much gold for a Sacred Relic?
He really can't. He's being targeted a lot by Vici. He doesn't have the space to farm. He's had very limited farming space on the map, so he's got to work into something that's easier to build up into. I don't think the Battle Fury is going to give him great presence. Like, you can argue, oh, there's a Phantom Lancer. It's not the best solution. I think the Radiance is still much more value in that sense, still. It should allow him to build into an item at the very least, at a reasonable time.
Who have they found? Mora's punch on James. He doesn't have egg, but he... Oh, Tidebringer hit on the neutrals!
Ooh.
Oh, he stuck around.
Yikes.
James, he underestimated how much damage Ori could pump out. And now, XM, he's going in, but the gaze is immediate from DY. They do get a duel off, but a great snowball save. Now the boat flying in. It's going to be enough to save him for now as Yang starts running out of there. He doesn't have Shallow Grave available, but XM can't finish the job anyway. Now SRF going to be chased, but PYW has no mana. He does stick charge up. Looks like he is still going to go down regardless. CDEC, they find something for their trouble. Ori, however, goes for an X-Torrent. Dissimulate will avoid that. CDEC, I mean, you would have liked a better kill, but you defend the tier 1. You get a kill. What else could you ask for?
Yeah, it's a good time for CDEC. Still no dual win, but they do manage to at least find a trade for their Phoenix. So it is kind of even in that sense. That was a really good timing on Ori to pop that double damage rune. Just a lot of value. That is what led to that splash damage. I don't think they checked the inventory for that one. That's why James is feeling pretty comfy. Didn't expect the double damage Tideburn to be coming out. And that really does eat through your backline.
Snowball. Oh, Ame, no. No, no, no. This can't be happening. XM's going to come in. Okay, they can clean up right now. The Phoenix jumps in as well. James, he does have egg. Gaze will be there, but it does get cancelled off thanks to the death of DY. PYW will also go down. But I think if you're Vici Gaming, John, do you really mind that? You just killed the Alchemist for the 3rd time.
No, you don't mind at all. This is exactly what you want. You're still finding that Alchemist. You're forcing CDEC to play around your own movements. You are buying space in the map. You compare the Alchemist to Eurus. Eurus on the Phantom Lancer, 6.3k gold. Pretty much free to go anywhere on the map. He's not joining his team for the most part. CDEC, because of these earlier movements, are not free to chase Eurus down. And this is when the Phantom Lancer is also equally vulnerable. CDEC is not able to capitalize on that natural weakness the PL has at this point in the game because they have to chase VG when they're diving Ame.
These wards from CDEC are very interesting, John. Like, they put 2 more wards up top, but they only had this ward down at the bot lane, and there was another one here to really give vision on those 2 camps. But they're not protecting the Alchemist. Like, he has no vision every time he's farming. Look, fight gonna break out. Aether Remnant does connect onto Yang. A huge amount of damage from those overwhelming odds, but SRF, can you find someone with the jewel? A great shards block. Gonna let nobody down those stairs. But back to my initial point, this observer ward up here was just placed after Ame's death, and Well, this one was always there as well. But you've got to question again, CDEC, why are they not protecting Arme a little more?
I wish I could explain why. I mean, it's been that story since the laning phase, mind you. Like, the lane matchup for our Alk was already a bit rough. The Dazzle Tusk is just really aggressive early on. That's not something you can really deal with just the Alchemist and the Chen. Like, they just couldn't really alleviate that pressure from the laning phase. And once, by the time they hit the jungle, that's the moment when XM was pretty active, so he had his supports running around with him. And that meant, sure, they had some vision on the map to protect Ame, but they weren't around. They are just trying to play around the timings of XM for the most part and hoping Ame can kind of use that space, but they're not finding the rotations from their own movements, right? They've been finding them after VG gets a jump on someone else. They're not pressuring Eurus, and that does mean all of these, you know, this kind of warding, this kind of playstyle isn't quite paying off for CDEC. We're at 15.5 minutes in. It's less than 1k net worth lead for CDEC. That's with an Alk. Now, Ame is top of net worth now. 8.5 up against Eurus' 8k.
Now they know they want to go after him again. Ame has to be very cautious, but they run up the hill. Where's the vision? CDEC? He can't farm that jungle without vision. And now Victoria will get caught out. Mind you, it was a smoke, but they're going to lose their Chen straight off the bat. He cannot sustain. And now with Eurus, he'll jump straight onto XM. The snowball will not end up latching on to the Void Spirit. Shards won't land either, but Eurus, what are you going for, sir? He looked for a courier, but doesn't quite find it. SRF, Jewel. Going for PYW. They do get the unstable concoction off, but Snowball is going to be there in time. PYW, he says, yeah, I'll fine. SRF doesn't want this anymore. Now the Chain Frost. It's a pretty nice one. Going to be bouncing in James. No, not the creeps. They will eventually die. And Ame, he just can't fight. Like, Eurus is just right in front of him. He doesn't care about this slight net worth lead. Egg's been dropped. Ame's dead again. Eurus now rushing towards the egg. Gets a double kill. XM being brought back. He does get to simulate Eurus. He wants to dive. He just doesn't care. We're 17 minutes in, and the PL's diving tier 3 towers.
He just knows he's at the point where he can afford to do this. He finishes up his Diffusal Blade, so that entire fight, he didn't even have that up. All he had was the Yasha, 2 Wraith Bands, and the Power Treads. But CDEC is just so scattered and not set up for the fight that they just can't take it. Like, they drop the egg. They have no additional control. This is something from the draft. They will find DY.
Yeah, it's a nice support pick. SRF, can you at least just go get the jewel?
No.
No? No, okay. Okay, DY doesn't die either. Eurus was there anyway. It was pretty dangerous.
Top tower is under attack.
Oh, DY?
Okay, he dies. He dies. He does end up going down to the end. Well done, XM.
Stuck around a bit too long there.
That's the one saving grace for CDEC right now. Like, XM is playing very well. Currently 6-0 with 1 assist, and he is extremely close now to that Aghanim Scepter. Perhaps once they have that Ags up, maybe that's going to be the game changer here. Is PYW going to get jumped? Great Aether, forcing him after that shards that he threw out. And XM now 7-0 on this Void Spirit.
Yeah, he's really setting the pace for CDEC. He's the only hero really set up to start all of these ganks for CDEC. You don't have the blink on the Legion Commander. Your Alchemist is a non-factor, and Phoenix, while great with the egg, I mean, that's a long cooldown, and you don't have the best setup. So it's really down to XM to buy that space. He has been doing so quite well. The Ags, I believe, is finished up and flying out, so you have a lot more coming out with your toolkit now. That silence is going to be very annoying to play against, and just adds a lot more durability for XM as well.
It could be pretty nice timing as well, because you've got the Tier 2 items now popping up at that new 17-minute mark, I believe, or is it 18? It's one of the two.
I believe it's 17.
Okay. And so now you do have some nice power spikes, right? Like, you've got an Ags up on the Void Spirit. You've got these Tier 2 items you can farm up. Maybe if you get lucky enough with these neutral items, you could take a big team fight. I say that, but SRF is currently getting dived. Shards are going to be that block. Warrior's Punch, can his team get there in time? SRF, he's falling very low, but here comes XM. Straight onto DY. They've lost SRF, and he cannot burst down the ledge. Now Eurus, he'll start moving forward. It's only going to be SRF that does die on the Legion Commander for now. Everyone else will survive. But Vici Gaming going to start setting up for those tier 2 towers, and that's probably another thing we should mention, John. The tier 2 towers got buffed as well.
Yeah. It does mean that it takes a little bit longer to find them. Like, we're at the 20-minute mark. This is the first tier 2 going down. It would have been a lot earlier in the last patch. I'd say 15 minutes is the tendency you saw from a team that was already running down all the other towers. So it's a bit of a longer timer because of how durable that is. It still does fall. Well, it felt pretty quick by the time VG did focus it down. So CDEC has to be very cautious about the map controller bleeding away. Again, you're trying to buy space for Ame, and he is starting to pull ahead. You're still at a deficit here, and you're going to be going into the Roche, but it feels like it's a bit too late.
The Roshan's going pretty quick though. Mid lane, who have they caught there? Jewel is going to be out on the on Ori, excuse me. So they do find the Kunkka. Now Aegis is there for Eurus. They definitely don't want to fight without Ori. Good news as well, John. We do have our first bit of Jewel damage. That's value.
It only took 20 minutes for a level 1 dual win. One of the slower starts for Legion Commander, but I honestly can't blame SRF. There's just no setup. Like, he can run in and try to duel, but for them to really find that burst damage, he needs XM. And if you drag XM around, would you run the risk of prolonging that kill just to find a duel and having backup come in from VG, or just going ahead and securing that kill without getting duel. So it's down to the fact that CDEC just doesn't quite have the way to leverage SRF's hero. He just can't get it done. He's saving up for the BKB first before the blink as well. So the BKB should allow him to stand there and fight. But without that blink, you're still going to struggle to find the right target in the backline.
Well, at least as time goes on, Ame is starting to really catch up on this Alk. He's getting close to that AC now. So Sword Cuirass going to be up fairly soon. So Ame, there's no secret shop there anymore, sir. I know it seems like 6.88, but we aren't back to that point. Rest in peace, Secret Shop, by the way. If there's one thing that got removed from Dota that I really got upset about, it was the side shops. They were great.
Yeah, it gave you a lot more presence in the lane once you got those boots out. Of course, with everyone having a courier, that kind of offsets it just a touch. Still not the same, but still.
It just felt good.
You know, it's like, oh yeah.
I think they gave you shrines and outposts like they matter. Who cares about those? XM gonna make a jump. Oh, Aether Remnant completely whiffed. SRF has no blink, so he can't jump in. And they have to really get out of there as the tips come out from PYW. They go. Chain creep, nice stun onto the PL, but Eurus continues to charge forward. He'll find at least one of them. Oh, nice chance. They won't capitalize. But there'll be no defense for this tier 1 tower. CDEC just have to let it go. Like, they can't defend this right now.
They definitely can't. They're going to have to bleed it away. You aren't set to fight even if you have that egg up. You are buying space for Ame. You mentioned him catching up. He's at 16k. A solid lead over our PL, but the team net worth difference is still not where you'd want it to be with an Alchemist. It's still only a 1k advantage for CDEC, and you have to remember a lot of that is riding on the Alch, so that means every other hero is kind of suffering for that. XM is pretty far forward.
He is, but he found Yang. XM still continues to go, but eventually will dissimulate out of there. Stun on Ame by himself. Illusion's really starting to drain the mana of Ame, and Eurus, he charges in with the real PL. Do they assume it's not the real PL? Yeah, they do. PYW jumps in. Still, he'll be okay. He'll doppel away, going on to XM, but they've lost DY already. Ori's still willing to fight with his new BKB up. Snowball going to fly through as an egg has been dropped now on the back lines, but VG, they will move away from the egg and be perfectly fine. But CDEC, they could really capitalize off this as VG do just try and run. But now they're looking to turn. Chance. Beautiful chance on SRF. He can't get out of this situation as Boat will fly in. He does get bursted down. Just no initiation. And DY does have to disconnect for a second, it seems. But it's every single team fight. It's the same story. CDEC, they want to chase. They get kited by Vici because they don't have a blink on the Legion commander yet. They've got nobody else who can get the job done to initiate. And then they end up turning the fight.
Yeah, it's that issue from CDEC's draft. This is a draft issue down to its core. They just don't have a way to dictate that fight. Like you looked at James, right? He gets a beautiful egg on that cliff area with wards. They just walk away. There's no control there. There's nothing to keep them within range of that egg to maximize that team fight potential from CDEC. There's just no direct synergy with this draft right now, and that's the major issue for CDEC. They have to play around to pick off potential of that Legion commander and the Void Spirit, but they're not able to yet because SRF is forced to go for this kind of build. He has swapped it out, though. He's queued the Blink Dagger ahead, so he's opting to just buy that straight up before the BKB. I think that's really the play. Just get in there, force the duel out, force one of them to get the snowball off or the shallow grave onto someone to cancel that out, and then you can follow up from that. That forces them into a situation to respond from CDEC. But before that, it's just not happening. Like, Ame is a harder target to get with that BKB up. He didn't even need to pop it there, but he's really not contributing too much in terms of damage.
No, he isn't. But that's what I mean. I think they need the setup. And oh, Eurus gonna find another chain creep as Walrus Punch comes in. PYW. There's the BKB coming out. Unstable Concoction stun is going to be there on the Tusk. Meanwhile, XM is going to make a chase onto Yang. But that Dazzle can just continually reset. They did at least find the Aegis on Eurus, so I suppose you'd call that a little bit of a win. But VG, they almost look like they want to just keep going. They will eventually back off. Eurus, he's really playing with fire right now with this positioning. But bounty runes are up. It's time to leave, boys. They will go back to their side of the river. Back to XM.
That
finds DY. Nice little pickup. XM 9-0 now on the Void Spirit.
And all those kills, though, are on like really squishy supports. These are not big kills that XM's been finding. He's been mainly finding our Lich, and that's great to build up. But you're not mitigating what everyone else is finding on VG's side. You look at the actual net worth of XM. He's 9-0, but he's at 10k. Even Yang is ahead on the Dazzle at 11k.
That is true. But I think that goes back to the fact that CDEC just has no one else doing anything. Right? Like, XM's the only one that really has any impact in this game for CDEC. So he doesn't really have a chance to slow down. He just needs to keep going. That's what I'm seeing here. Like, SRF, he actually skipped the blink again. Yang, gonna get caught out by the jewel. Can they actually take him out? He will die in time. Okay, he dies in time. That was a little concerning considering there was 4 heroes around him and he looked like he was still gonna be able to get a shallow grave off in time.
It's a Dazzle, right? You should be better set to kill off a Dazzle. Granted, that's a pretty tanky Dazzle with a Solar Crest on and the mech up and running. So a lot of that damage is kind of mitigated, but it's not the fastest kill, and it does tell you about the state of the game. Right? CDEC do maintain a 1k lead. Ame is top on net worth, 18k, up against Eurus' 14. That's the next hero. So there's a 4k difference on the Elk, but you only have a 1k lead. So you're not finding the actual big gap you want with the Alchemist there because everyone else is really getting shafted hard. SRF on Legion Commander's at 7k. I mean, he's only slightly ahead of the supports at this case.
You know, you got to go back to that Battle Fury build as well. It's like unless you close the gap, you're doing nothing as the Alk. Like at least if you have the Radiance, you're doing something. Even if you can't hit anybody, something's happening. But with that Battle Fury, nothing's happening until you can actually get a lock on someone. And, well, now he's got a Basher on the way at least, so perhaps he could get that lock himself. But you're kind of relying on RNG a little bit. We'll see if he can actually close the gap, get lucky with the bash, and keep them down.
Yeah, they're going to be relying on Ame, this big investment they've given to this Alchemist, and he's really playing far forward under ward. They're going to be trying to gun for this one.
PYW. Shards. Even the Ancients helping them out right now. The Arc forced the BKB. Oh, that is a huge kill onto DY and PYW. Now, Eurus, he's very low. He's just going to try and man-fight this, but he should be dead. In fact, no. He doppels away. Chain Frost comes in. Eurus still running away. Can he actually get out of this? He avoids the 8th remnant. Now, Snowball comes in. I'm not sure that was a Snowball, but it actually ends up killing Eurus. He was fine, and PYW panic snowballed. I think he actually walked away from that alive had that Snowball not taken him in.
Yeah, definitely. 100% he would have gotten out of there just fine. Just a bit of a panic move there from PYW. I can't... sometimes he makes small mistakes like that. It does cost him a lot. And that's the big kill CDEC's been looking for a while. And this is actually going to allow them to start sieging that high ground very quickly.
Who they caught there? It is going to be Ori. He pops his own BKB. Another Snowball comes out. Chemical Rage is going to be available right now on Arme, so he should feel safe enough. Glyph forced out. PYW jumps in, but that is a dangerous position. They jump straight away, the Tusk. That's a dieback. Unstable Concoction Lee stuns up the Arc, but Arme is still perfectly fine with this. And CDEC, they should not have any right to go high ground like this. But suddenly, Vici Gaming, one bad team fight, and they lose Arax.
They lose Arax, they lost their key hero in that Phantom Lancer. CDEC suddenly bounced back into an 8k advantage, all of a sudden a much nicer number for the Alchemist to hit. This does set them up quite nicely, it gives them a lot more control back in the map, and Ori does find the X.
SRF, nice torrent into a double boat. XM gonna try and help out, 8th Remnant gonna connect on the PL, I believe, but looks like they are going to lose Victoria. They do save the LC at least. XM now really doesn't want to die. He hasn't died all game, but he looks to be in trouble still. The Icarus dive. X back. That is going to be the first death of XM. And Arme can't do anything. Just needs to get out of there. And that would have been a lot of gold, even with those changes as of late. And yeah, it was. But 1.5k going to the way of Vici Gaming now. And it's not good. He was 10-0, now 10-1. Just one nice X from Ori did the work.
It's the risk you run when you depend on one hero to really carry you through that point in game, right? Like, he had to get all of that space.
PYW is being so frustrating. He does save the outpost for his team. They don't even get the duel win. I mean, it's just so unfortunate. They don't get the outpost in time. They don't get the duel win. They get the kill, but what does PYW care?
Not much. Really doesn't care. And this is actually a bit telling of CDEC. Like, they're finding these opportunities to bounce back in. It's still not quite lining up. They're trading where they really shouldn't be able to trade. Like, they lose XM when he should be able to slip out. You'd actually expect the Alchemist to be caught out there and locked in. Instead, it's the slippery Void Spirit that gets punished. They have to be a bit more careful with how they take these fights. Just because they've kind of bounced back in doesn't mean that VG's quite out of it. A 4k lead at 30 minutes in is a good situation for them. It's still not the ideal for the Alc. So there's still a lot of ways for VG to play around this, though.
Smoke broken by DY. This is not the kill they were looking for. They'll take it. It's the best they could find, and perhaps now they go for a Roshan attempt. Shards again, very nice from PYW. Yeah, they're going to try for the Roshan play. Still very dangerous though. You are fighting into a Kunkka PL in a Roshan pit. But the question is Vici Gaming actually going to try and contest this, and do they even know? Apparently they don't.
I think they want to play it cautiously. They probably had an idea the rush was going down. It's just that without their Lich, they lose out in the damage. Like, you have the Kunkka, that's great, but you see all the sustain from CDEC right now. It is a lot. You only have one Spirit Vessel charge on Aura. You do have the Aura at play, but you're really looking at the charge to mitigate a lot of that regen coming out. And, of course, you need an extra charge to kind of counteract the Purge from the Legion Commander. So it would have been a very hard fight for them to take without their complete lineup. That is an objective they are going to have to give away. In fact, they might have to give out their Tier 2 as well if they're not careful. Ame is just very comfy to stand there and start melting it.
It's a huge change from what we saw in the earlier stage of the game. This just shouldn't be happening. How's our PL farming? Like, he's got IF Skadi up now. So Eurus really does have plenty of ways to deal with the Alk. But
middle tower is under attack.
Vici, they're still kind of behind. You have the blink now coming out onto Arme as well, so he's got initiation. You have two, or rather three ways of initiating this team fight now. So there's that. He's going to put his treads in the backpack for now. And they're going to recall the Alk. Big team fight may be coming. XM going to start the team fight off by going after DY. Still Shallow Grave will save. Dissimulate to avoid the snowball. Oh, what a dissimulate. He gets him on the cliff. DY TP's out, but they get the duel off onto PYW. And now Arme, he jumps in by himself. Straight after Yang on the dazzle. The silence will be there. A follow-up stun. PYW finally dying, but Yang will be able to get away. And now Eurus, he's getting bashed up. This is dangerous, but he does get away with the doppel. What a dissimulate from XM.
Yeah, I think in the end that actually did kind of help VG. Like the snowball trapping them in the cliff bought them a lot of time, mainly because there wasn't vision from CDEC there. So they had a way to get out. They only dropped one support instead of dropping potentially two supports and even their offlaner in Yang. So it's a lot less of a loss for VG, and CDEC miss out on a couple of free targets in that case, but not going to be too disappointed. Like, they are forcing VG to play reactively now. VG is starting to feel some of that pressure, although I think Eurus, with the build-up he has, he's going into the Abyssal as well. It's actually a bit scarier for that PL to have the Abyssal Blade himself, mainly because it's such a solid way to lock down the Alk, and the Alk still has to figure out which the real PL is. You don't have that worry about with the Phantom Lance. You just jump straight onto that Alk, and it's more than likely the real Alchemist every single time.
All smoke. They jump in. Who have they found there? It is going to be the LC, but Egg has been dropped with the boat flying in. SRF. He popped BKB, but doesn't survive. Still Arme. Who's he got? He's got Yang on the dazzle. A follow-up stun from the Phoenix. Still Yang surviving and gets the Shallow Grave off in time. Now they are losing Victoria on the Chen as well. He dies. It looks like Vici are going to win this team fight. Yang, he finally does go down to XM, and now the Sunray burning away onto Ori, and somehow CDEC, they're coming back into this. They still have the Aegis on the Alk as well. Arme, can you deal with Eurus? He's the real problem.
Ooh.
A triple kill on the PL. Snowball now to come in. Does connect on the Alchemist as he does go for James, but the Chen creeps, controlling up Eurus. Still no lucky bashes for Arme. Still going with the Abyssal now. Eurus, he's caught out, but it's not enough. But you know, it is. Arme does have the range. And they almost get a complete team wipe. The only man to get out of there was PYW.
Oh, it's just such a good fight coming out for CDEC. It looked like VG was setting the pace, but they are really starting to drop off. You saw some issues with CDEC trying to kill off Yang. It took a lot longer than you'd expect to clean up that dazzle. That's still a constant issue here for CDEC, but they do find the kills in the end. This is going to allow them to go straight into that high ground. No buybacks on any of these cores. So even in the next fight, VG will have to play a bit more conservatively because they have no way to jump back in with a second life without that gold up.
Repair kit. Not going to be so effective. They can't actually get in range to put the frost shield on. In fact, it was on cooldown anyway. Now they do on the melee barracks with the repair kit. That will slow things down a little bit. And Arme, he still does have the Aegis, but he really wants that chemical Aegis. He does jump in anyway. PYW does go down and immediately buys back. Now they found the dazzle with that jewel. Do they have enough damage? Not quite. James, he dived in. He won't be able to get the egg off. He went way too far forward. And now SRF trying to get out of there, but he's also going to die. And Arme finally does get caught out. The Aegis ran out. Oh, the timing. No, not like that.
It's not pretty for CDEC. They don't have buyback on their Alk. They're gonna need a lot of gold for on that Alk to save up before that buyback's up and ready. So this is an opportunity for VG to jump back in, clear some objectives out. Rather unfortunate timing there. A lot of things fell apart. The dive in from her Phoenix actually gave a lot more value from that Chain Frost going on to DY. The duel onto Yang, they just couldn't kill him fast enough. I don't know if the target you go for is this Dazzle. Like, if you don't go for him, you have to worry about the Shallow Grave, but if you do go for him, he is really tanky. You're actually not doing enough damage to this guy during that duel, wherein you're focusing everything you have onto that Dazzle as well. So maybe go for a squishier target. I think ideally the Lich or Tusk, but you always have to keep an eye for the Dazzle Shallow Grave, and that is pretty tricky for CDEC to keep track of.
Look at that win probability graph, John. Just look at it. What a mess. Absolute mess. What is going on here? Just all over the place, and that's the story of this game. Like, both teams just having some very, very strange decisions being made, and Dota Plus doesn't know what to say anymore. It's just up and down, over and over.
Yeah, it's definitely. You look at Eurus now as well. We were talking about no buybacks in the Elk. Eurus opts to finish up the Abyssal, so he doesn't have buyback on the PL.
What's the old saying?
And there it
Buyback
is.
is for bitches.
But he got the Illusionist Cape though. So
Okay.
there's a lot more damage coming out on his illusions with that tier 4 item up and running. That might actually give them a lot more than you'd expect for VG.
Big smoke up from CDEC. They're feeling confident. Now, mind you, if they did win this team fight, it could theoretically be game, because there is really only 2 buybacks on the side of Vici Gaming, and that is the Kunkka and Lich. Without the PL up, there's just no way you can fight back. Though Vici Gaming seem to be aware that something is awry, and they do go towards their own triangle. Looks like they'll be perfectly safe. This won't be a spot that CDEC really wants to fight in, so they'll just start farming up some tier 4 items. That'll be the end of that. They'll start a very slow push down the bot lane. They've already got that Rax, but it looks like they just want to apply some pressure into the base.
Yeah, I'm liking the tier 4s on down, and that's something VG has kind of struggled with. I mean, he's died, 2 times, sure, but that's still just 2 times on this faceless, on this Void Spirit. So it's gonna be a lot harder to keep him in his place with that Spell Prism up and running, and that's gonna be something they're gonna have to watch out for. Although, it's down to you're starting to see issues with VG as well. Like, who do they focus down? I think that's also starting to come into play. Like, they can't quite just dedicate themselves to one hero anymore. But it's been easier for them to spread out. So CDEC can leverage that if they kind of play their positioning a bit better. Just try not to clump up too hard, and I think you can confuse VG well enough that they'll struggle to find the right targets.
I do like the core items as well that have just come out on CDEC. You got the Soul Crest up onto SRF now. XM, he brings out a Deso. So there's a lot more damage output, and ooh, nice courier snipe on PYWs. And Roshan's also up, so there's never been a better time for these items to be available. They could take a seriously quick Roshan. And with Press the Attack and Solar Crest on this Alchemist, Arme's going to be breaking his own arms trying to attack. As PYW breaks the smoke, does get caught out. You immediately after that kill note, you go to Roshan.
Yeah, should be a very straightforward Roche coming out for CDEC. VG should be aware. They are positioning themselves out.
They kind of have to fight this. I don't think they can let this go down. They are rushing forward. PO Illusions will rush in. It may be a bit challenging without PYW. They won't get there in time. Aegis. Arme picks it up eventually. Wait. Did he just...
I
Did he put the Aghanim
he
Blessing on
deny?
himself? No, he got the Aegis.
Oh, yeah. No, he did, I guess.
But does that do anything for him?
No.
No, right? He gives it to... that is... Okay, that's... I know they feel like they're ahead, which they are, but you can't just do that. Like, that's game losing, right? I mean, did they? I don't know. I see an Aghanims on James. I'm not sure if I'm incorrect here. Maybe I'm misreading?
I mean,
No, he has the Aghanims
blessing.
blessing. He has the blessing,
Yeah.
and he has one granted. So he actually ate the blessing. This is like when KYXY denied that Aegis. It's almost just as bad.
Oh, it's a strange decision. Maybe a misclick. Maybe they were rushing because they were worried Vici would kind of come in. They didn't have vision to watch outside a pit, so there was a bit of pressure on CDEC to clean up and get out fast.
I get it. I suppose it's not really the greatest targets to put it on. Like, you either have the LC or you have the Chen. But they would have still been better than just wasting it. Like, at least give it to the Chen. Alright, we'll go in anyway. A lot of damage already out. Oh, that's a balanced attack speed. Still, he does get Warriors punched up. He did have the BKB active, though. And he goes onto the Kunkka with that Abyssal Blade, but Shallow Grave is going to be there in time. Now they dive in. Ori, he will be able to back out. And that tier 3 tower is still going to be under siege. However, they go back in now with the boat, with the Spirit Vessel. There's no BKB on Arme, but he's a tanky man with an Aegis. And it looks like that Aegis may go down, though. No, Chen Hill is there, but they do eventually find the Aegis. Do they keep going for this team fight, BG? I think they have to. Gaze is going to be there on the Alk. Arme falling so low, but the egg save, the Aghanim Blessing on the Phoenix. It's not enough, though. They burst it down. Eurus will take him out, and now SRF. He also dies. Is DY gonna spot out this Chen who cannot get out, and Eurus is on an ultra kill. Give him the rampage. Where is the Void Spirit? XM trying to run away. He's gonna try and blink out, or rather TP out, and does make it. They didn't get the X off. And Eurus has clipped himself. No rampage for you, sir. Sit up there and think about what you did.
It's a really good fight going out there for VG. They only lose a tier 3. They managed to burn through that Aegis. I don't think there was anything that went wrong for CDEC as well. Like, they were playing that pretty well. Maybe the egg save wasn't the play, but they really ran out of options, right? The Aegis was already expended there. The BKB was burned earlier on. There was really no way to get that Alk out in time except for the egg and praying for a Hail Mary. Not quite enough pressure from the rest of the heroes to keep them away from the egg. So they do lose out there. You do have buybacks up on CDEC. At the very least, you have a buyback on Ame, so he can come in for the defense as needed, which means that it shouldn't be too much lost here for CDEC.
Mid-Rack's gonna go down. Vici pushing this game back their way now, and they'll go for a secondary Rax. There's buyback on Arme, but he really doesn't want to have to commit it right now. Then again, he is kind of holding 5.2k gold, but he doesn't want to get it on cooldown, so he'll wait it out. XM, 8th Remnant does connect, just trying to keep them in the base, but they'll be able to walk out of there. And suddenly, both teams have 1 Rax, but Vici has a slight advantage. They have the 2 melee barracks going their way. Very nice.
Yeah, they've gotten a lot more control on the lanes. At the very least, it will shove out in their favor if you let it be. Really big pickup for Ori. But at Nullfire, it's going to be hard to save anyone by Dispel. So you're going to have that constant Dispel, negative Dispel on Ori now, just to launch out. That should prevent any big saves with our, I believe, press the attack. So you should be able to get a lot more value from your control. And this should help VG find that key control that they've been kind of struggling with as long as SRF's around. You know, when he's up, the press the attack is there to mitigate a lot of that control. Now you do have to worry about that Nullfire in play as well.
You know, Arme still has room to grow, by the way. He still hasn't got a Moonshot.
I don't think that fixes his issues. Like, you go Moonshot, you attack faster, sure, but his lifesteal is...
But you're min-maxing, right? Like, you kind of have to.
Yeah, for sure. Like, he has to go for that. If not, another Ags to give himself more bonuses on his well on his stat. Like I think it's actually a bit more valuable to maybe gift at this point rather than going straight for that Moon Shard, just
But who do you
because
gift
of
it to?
the. I don't know, just toss it to someone. You have the additional gold. Phoenix already has one. I guess Chen?
Yeah,
Is
I mean, he gets
okay.
ancient creeps. Like, it's all right if you get the golems still give you that gold that health increase.
I believe they do.
Pretty sure
I
they
believe
do, right?
so.
Yeah.
That, and then, you could get the dragons to shove out a wave as well. Ancient black dragons. So those are options, viable options for CDC. It's not the best value. I'm not trying to say it's a good idea to give your Chen Ags every single game, but I think there is a little bit more value in perhaps going for the bonus from granting people Ags instead in this case.
Oh, he's got 8k gold now.
Dire's bottom tower has fallen.
He's gonna start his own bank soon, this alchemist.
Bottom tower is under
I mean, he has to save for buyback. And
Fair
at
enough, John.
3.4k surplus, like, it's not enough for a Moon Shard. It's not enough for an Ag straight up, so it's gonna have
but
to wait a bit.
He's got 7.4k unreliable gold, John. It's I don't know. I believe
It's
what you're saying. But,
surplus.
yeah, no, I get it.
But-
I get it. But what did he buy? MKB?
Is he? Yeah. It looks like he's going for the MKBs. All right, that's fair enough. What do you replace though? The Blink, the Battle Fury in this point? I guess you could, but that has been key in getting damage onto the PL when you can't find a real one, which is very common because it's late game up against a PL. His illusions don't melt as much as it was earlier on. So, gonna be interesting to see what they do swap out here once he gets to buy.
Okay. Alright, so MKB's up. He does get rid of the Blink Dagger now. That's cool. Arme's looking pretty big. Eurus looking pretty big as well. Satanic up. Ready to go. Vici Gaming. Gonna run up. They do have a smoke. XM will break it. And XM gonna just jump away. Now Arme comes in and looks like he does find PYW. Eurus gonna jump on him straight away though with that nullifier. Arme is still gonna man fight this as now he jumps on Ori. In fact, never mind. It is gonna be the Eurus really just jumping on the Phoenix James, but he does manage to also jump away. Meanwhile, in the back lines, looks like SRF does get caught out. Can they kill him though? Well, they definitely can. Eurus.
Oh, Eurus.
Egg gonna drop. He is very, very far forward right now. There is no way out of this situation. Doppel was on cooldown, and so he couldn't really dodge the stun. Instead, Sunray forward. And looks like they are also going to find Yang on the Dazzle. So CDEC, they have a nice team fight. In fact, they also found the Kunkka. XM was still going after him, and the only man left is PYW right now on the Tusk.
Dire
And the Tusk is currently just chilling out. But Arme knows. He knows.
Oh,
Nice little blink forward. They get the kill.
oh. It's
CDEC, they just
a
fight
good
back.
set of kills.
Yeah?
Yeah, they found a lot of big kills. They get the Kunkka and Yang. I think those are the two big ones. PYW's died so many times. He's just a support Tusk, not the biggest kill in the world, but taking out the Kunkka and taking out the Dazzle and really almost finding Eurus does put a bit of a dent in VG's game plan. They are still, ahead in terms of map control with the racks, the advantage they have. They have taken 2 racks versus just losing 1. You're not in the greatest spot. 17k disadvantage at 51 minutes in is honestly not too much, but it is starting to come into play, especially on Ame. So you saw that man fight breaking out with Eurus just going onto the Elk. He doesn't have enough damage on him to really burn through that Elk by himself. There's just not enough there. He needs the entire team to help him out. In that case, I think they also jumped while the BKB was running, so I believe that did mitigate the Spirit Vessel and the Nullifier, which meant that... Nullifier didn't even come out yet at that point. Like, I don't think it flew in. So you're not quite being able to get that combination off. I think you want to stun lock Ame immediately and just drop everything you have and hope for lucky bashes onto PL to get the damage onto this hero and lock him out.
Ooh, Divine. XM just picks it up. I love it. He's got another one queued up with a Daedalus, and there is going to be a Roshan up very soon. And CDEC in such a position right now. They'll spot out the Roshan thanks to that Chen creep. The Hill Troll will die. It is sacrificed to the great Roshan. Vici Gaming gonna smoke up. They know that Roshan timing. Shard's going right through the side of CDEC, but they will not panic. They'll just chill out and wait. Eurus. None of them breaking smoke yet.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Still, just both teams kind of just trying to get that Roshan timing, but Vici Gaming have been forced back, and now with that vision, they know we can go for the Roshan.
Just
A
melt.
lot of damage. Yeah, XM's hitting like a truck right now, and so is Ame. Refresher Shard, Ags is there as well. Just too many items to pick up at this point. We're 53 minutes into the game. So who takes anything?
Who does the refresh go on? Should be the Phoenix, right? No.
It wouldn't really
maybe.
bother. Like, it wouldn't bother you to see it on XM though. Like with the damage output, with that Astral Step, if you really wanted to get a refresh and have 4 Astral Steps up as well as the rest of his abilities, like that's 4 charges of Resonant Pulse and 4 charges of Astral Step that he would get.
Yeah. It's pretty potent. I do like that prioritization. Again, you might as well give it to your Divine Carrier, right? This should allow XM to slip in and out in a touch of trouble as well. So he's got a lot more to juggle around, but a lot of more value on this Void Spirit now. And I'm not sure if they've even spotted out the Divine. I don't think CDEC's shown on the map since, so they still have an element of surprise when they do jump into VG.
Well, Vici Gaming, all they can do is hold high ground. Like Ame is just way too big now. Way too big. Moonshot Eden as well, so more attack speed for him. Of course, you do now have the also the Ags on Chen, so you do get the Granite Golem up. It is a bit of a bonus health for everyone. Never hurts. So many auras up for the side of CDEC.
Yeah, gonna make it a lot harder for VG to burn right through. And that has been a consistent issue, right? They have great damage, but it's just not been enough to keep this Alk down. And with all of these things flying out now for CDEC, it's gonna make it even harder to melt through Ame. That's one of the things they're really lacking. They just can't get the right jump on that Alchemist at this point. It's a pretty big Alk at 55 minutes in, sorry. 34k advantage. So we went from, what, 1k advantage at 20 to 34k at 55. They did manage to hold out, CDEC. And they are still holding out quite well. They're still playing, based on the map, from on behind, you know? Like, 2 racks versus 1 is a bit of a disadvantage in terms of how far you can shove that lane. They are still really doing quite well. I'd say they're ahead. The issue is they can't go for any objectives because the lanes are constantly shoved out.
There is a bit of a rotation here from Vici Gaming now. There's just no opening for them. They're just going to wait on the high ground, hoping that CDEC do make a bit of a push, but they won't. They are going to play very carefully, taking their time. You've got those tier 5 items coming up in a couple minutes as well. SRF. Morris Punch going to be there. Now they do jump in with the Nullifier. SRF pops the BKB, but it's not good enough. He will lose his Aegis. Still trapped in those shards. It will eventually wear out, but now the Scythe Device comes out, and they do have plenty of damage to take down SRF on that Legion Commander. Ooh, unstable concoction. Arme. Gonna go in, but oh, the Abyssal Blade comes out from Eurus.
Man.
He locks him in with his own
Oh,
stun.
no.
He doesn't have an Aegis there on Arme. He does go down. Still XM jumps in, jumps his way out. He used the Refresher Shard to be able to get out of that situation. And now with the Divine, he really needs to get his get out of there just safely. And looks like James will do the same with the Icarus dive. Great team fight from Vici Gaming, however. Just Eurus understanding that Abyssal would really just force the stun onto the Arc himself, and so much disable there onto Arme.
Yeah, that's a pretty big misplay from Ame, just standing there with a concoction. I mean, you tend to want to get that to really get the toss off in time, but it costs him a lot when they finally do land the lockdown needed on VG's side. And with him not being able to pop the BKB or his ult, he really just melted. So you've got to be careful about that at the very least. You do have buybacks on both of these heroes now. You didn't have buyback in the LC earlier, but it does kind of tick in. This should still allow VG to push into the high ground. And they do.
SRF gonna be forced to buy back. Maybe we'll hold out for now, see if he can avoid it. VG Gaming. Do they want to back? Yeah, they do now that Arme's brought back, and XM gonna jump straight in onto the Dazzle
no.
Yang, falling low, but not low enough. Still, he will eventually go down to Arme, who's hitting like an absolute truck right now, but they're falling low on the LC. SRF should die though. No, the illusions aren't enough. Arme's still man fighting. He's going after the pure Eurus. Eats a cheese. Does manage life stealing quite a bit here on the Arc, or rather just healing up, and he will go through all these heroes without dying on this Alchemist. And in fact, XM also finds DY on the tail end of things.
That was a big mistake from VG. They got XM. The Rapier fell. They didn't pick it up. I don't think they were ready to pick it up. So they buy back on Void Spirit. He gets past the Rapier back and jumps back in. Perfectly fine. Not missing out. That was a massive swing that could have gone the way of VG if they managed to pick up that Divine. And they just couldn't. There was a lot going on in that fight. But that's a massive missed opportunity for VG now. This is going to give CDEC an opportunity to go in. You've got the Divine on the Alk now as well. So Ame's got his own Divine coming in, and he is just going to hit like a truck as long as he doesn't get stunned up.
I love it. More Divines to come, by the way. Another one for XM queued up, ready to go. Just needs the gold for it. Where's the Divines on the side of Vici Gaming? That's what I'm wondering. They've got to keep up. We're almost at that. In fact, we are at the hour mark now. 60 minutes into game one.
Should be seeing the first tier 5s, of course. So CDEC just maybe wants to find a couple of drops before going in. There you go.
Fallen Sky.
First one dropping.
Very nice. Who uses it though? Like, it's a pretty nice item to have. What else can we find? If you're Vici Gaming, you are hoping to get very, very lucky at this point. Like, you really need it. Or Ballista. More attack speed. Or, excuse me, attack range. Oh, right. It's the attack range and it gives knockback. So who do you give that to? It's not very often we get to this point where we get to see these items.
I mean, the only two heroes that can use the Ballistas, like the Phoenix and Chen. I'm not sure which one's going to enjoy that more. I would want to say... Yeah, Chen, because Phoenix is going to be using Sunray a lot. He's going to be focusing on his spell, and he'll be an egg.
Oh,
so Chen's really the only one who can use that.
I like the Book of the Dead. Oh. Another Ballista will come out now
that's
for
big.
Yang. He's going to hold the Woodland Striders. Nobody getting the Pirate Hat, which is a bit sad. Arme would have loved that. That's the one that gives you that huge attack speed as well as the gold. Or he's got his own Fallen Sky. (61, 62 minutes in almost. Again, Dota Plus is just all over the place. It just doesn't know. It has no clue anymore. 62% for now for CDEC. Both teams appear to be waiting for that next Roshan. Oh, the Trident as well coming out from for XM now.
Are scanning.
Oh yeah, that's nice. I mean, he already has 2 items. Might as well finish up.
That's right. He can just finish that up completely. And yeah, he does. Immediately buys it out. So now he has a Trident up. Does have an extra slot available for himself. Just needs to fill it up with something.
Dire's bottom tower
Second
is
Divine.
under attack.
He is.
That's what he
was
wants.
queuing up for it.
Oh, he changes his
CDA
mind.
on disc.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, he has enough
Safe play.
damage.
Yeah. Safer. Does give him some leeway in case he is locked down. Should give him enough room to pull back as needed. Still a very slippery hero, of course.
So Eurus has taken the Striders for himself. Got the Force Boots there on Yang. And looks like we might be missing one. The supports aren't really holding one yet, but you've got the Telescope, which is really nice on the Lich to have all together. And it looks like the Tusk is just going to hold on to that Ninja Gear for now. And you've got the Spell Prism coming out on him later on. I love how you can just fall in Sky forward as the Alk now. You don't even need to hold the blink anymore. This is Vici Gaming. Jump in, Fallen Sky is there. It's going to be straight onto the LC SRF. Trying to get away. Unstable Concoction will be avoided by Eurus, and looks like this LC is going to go down. No, though. The Sunray does come out. Still a nice torrent connecting. The LC somehow surviving with the egg from SRF, who does also Sunray now. Chain Frost going to bounce through. Nobody really dying in this team fight. It's XM, or rather Arme, going to stun himself, but that does get purged off. Now they do jump in though with the Nullify and the Walrus Punch. He's starting to melt. He's trying to fight back. He finds PYW, but Arme does die, and there's no buyback available on the Alk. Eurus now also going to go onto James on that Phoenix. James, he will buy back immediately, but they're probably going to lose Victoria. And they will.
I mean, they gave the Divine to Eurus because he just bought the Divine on the Alk. It drops. So Eurus has the Divine running around with the PL.
Well,
This is going to be much harder. I mean, he can afford another one, but it's a scary situation. You've got a PL who really just melts through people now. Has his lifesteal up as well. He's had that for a while, but you're getting so much more value from the kit of Eurus. So it's going to be a hard situation here defending 4v4.
And he pushes down towers, and Rax is very, very quick.
Dire's bottom
They're going to go for tier 4s. They know the buyback's not available. Why not? You have the damage. And VG was so far behind just about 5 minutes ago, but now not so much.
has fallen.
They are still going to play very cautiously, just throwing illusions at that tier 4 tower. Eurus now does throw himself in.
Oh.
He'll be alright. They'll jump in onto
Oh,
James. The
James.
bash straight away with the Fallen Sky from Ori. James will die back on the Phoenix. Now Divine being brought out by Arme, but he still can't buy back. It's on cooldown. So it's going to do nothing for him as SRF going to get melted here by Eurus, and this game should really be over. And it is at 65 minutes in. They do pull off the victory on the side of Vici Gaming. And what a game one to have for this new patch in the DPL-CDA League.
Oh man, just a lot of back and forth from both teams. CDEC not finding that early space at all, like kind of even shafting Ame for the most part. They were finding a lot of good early kills on XM, but they weren't giving their Alk enough space. Still, they hold out long enough to bounce back in, but then VG was already big at that point. So you reach a bit of a stalemate with a lot of gold going the way of CDEC. Not quite enough, and that does bring VG on top with just one small mistake. Just having Ame get stunned up in the middle of that team fight. That's enough to really turn the tides there for VG.
Yeah, it's a great start for the side of Vici Gaming. Of course, that does put them 1-0. We'll be into the second lobby ASAP, and I imagine the next game will probably start in about 5 to 10 minutes. I assume both teams will probably want a couple minutes break time before they start the next draft. It is MLP Dota and JohnXFire. We'll see you all again very, very soon for game number 2.